This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
From north, south, east, and west, North America, Japan, and back again. This is your home for modern-day wrestling, with the occasional trip back in time. It's Place to Be Nation's main event. Now let's head into Studio B with your host, Scott Criscolo, and the Godfather, Nate Milton.
Place to Be Nation! Welcome back to your home for everything modern-day wrestling, here, there, and everywhere. Place to Be Nation's main event. I am your tri-host, Scott Criscolo. We had a great show for you tonight. We are on the eve, or less than 7 days away, from the Wednesday Night Wars officially beginning between NXT and AEW. We'll kind of preview that tonight. NXT's had a couple of test shows, I guess you could say, over these last 2 Wednesdays, and they've both been pretty badass, to be quite honest with you. AEW has a tall order. We'll talk about that. And we got some new stuff we're going to debut tonight on our format show, on our format. Some new things for you, the listener, because you've been great, and we want to help. We want to pay it forward, if you will, and give all of you something fun to watch. Not just the New Japan Classic Match Picks, which we will have this evening, but some stuff currently, because I think main event we need to kind of evolve. Evolve. Look at all of my non sequiturs tonight. And give you something to watch of all the whole week. Because, I mean, guys, well, let me bring the guys in. Purveyor of the Kings of Sport. Purveyor of a great Patreon. The Godfather, Nate Milton.
What is going on, Scotty? I think, when it's time to change, you must rearrange. I think that's how one of the young Brady boys said it. I don't know if it was Greg or Mike or Ricky Brady.
Ricky Bobby. Oliver.
Spoiler alert, I never liked the Brady Bunch. Like, it wasn't my jam. Now, Car 54, where are you? That's a real show.
That is a real show, exactly.
A real man.
By the way, I didn't, of course, mention what episode it is. It is episode 134, which means we conclude the trilogy of awesome athletes' numbers. We began with 32, and then, of course, 33, which might be the greatest number of all time. And tonight we have 34. Before we start firing off athletes, let's bring in the third member of our team, the conscience of Place to Be Nation. He is never out indefinitely, whether it's with mono or the runs, Mr. Steve Willie.
Tom Brady, James Brady.
Brady Boone.
Brady Boone, yes. Brady. What are the
Brady
Lost Dudleys?
He didn't know the tuck rule. Steve, it's always good to have you, man.
It is good to be here in one piece. Everything is good.
Everything is good. You do not have mono.
No.
You know who I knew had mono? Mr. Rotella had mono years and years ago. I felt like he had it for like 11 years. Probably about as long as Darno may have it, but I don't know. Anyway, he couldn't drink, so he couldn't walk straight. But regardless, it is episode 134, gentlemen. And I have a list of solid 34s. If there's any others that pop up, please let me know. The first one that we need to mention, of course, because he concludes the trilogy. This guy was awesome in 3 numbers. He wore 32, he wore 33, and he wore 34. We are talking about the big Aristotle himself, Shaquille O'Neal. Of course, he wore 34 with my beloved Los Angeles Lakers as they won 3 consecutive world championships from 2000 to 2002. I don't know if he wore 34 with anybody else. I think he wore 32 with everybody else. I know he wore 32 with the... Wait. What did he wear with the Celtics? Because 32 and 33 are retired. And obviously Pierce was wearing 34. Was he wearing 30?
I barely remember him on the Celtics.
I don't either. He wore something else, I think, on the Celtics. I think he wore 32 with Phoenix. I think he wore 32 with the Heat.
He wore 36 with the Celtics.
Oh, okay. I'm going to go to Basketball Reference because they usually have that cool stuff. While we're looking at that, gentlemen, other great 34s. We have, of course, Love You Blue, the Tyler Rose of Texas, Mr. Earl Campbell, who wore 34 with the Oilers. I don't think he wore 30. I think he wore 20 with University of Texas, but he definitely wore 34 with the Oilers. You're looking at the list right now, Steve. You should say this next. You should say this next.
Yeah, my favorite football player of all time, obviously Walter Payton, Sweetness. The old SI poster on my wall. Do you remember those, Scott? Like
the name with the little net. It was the white back of the white border with the. Oh, those fucking posters were awesome. I had a my buddy that lived up the street from me had a Mattingly. Mm-hmm. I had a Magic. Actually, I had a towel. I had a beach towel like the SI poster.
Oh wow,
Magic. That was badass.
So my grandfather was a printer. And I would always he'd bring home like hundreds of posters, and then so you could go through the piles and see if there are any you wanted. So yeah, I had Walter Payton and of all people, Jack Lambert of that poster.
What a son of a bitch. No. So there we go there. If I could spell Shaquille right, everything would be fine. There we go. Shaquille.
SHAQDADDY.
Another 34. I don't want to refer to him because his team beat my team on Saturday night, and their fans are a bunch of unruly slime balls, except Chad Campbell. Heisman Trophy winner in 1980, and of course wore 34 with my Dallas Cowboys, and that of course is Herschel Walker.
Yes.
Another 34, which I have hanging in my closet. He didn't wear 34 for both sports. He only wore 34 in one sport, and that was when he was in the silver and black. We are talking about Bo Jackson.
Why is Bo Jackson hanging in your closet?
Oh,
do I need to make a phone call?
Well, because when I need motivation, Bo knows motivation. Bo knows closets. No.
Number 8 in baseball, at least on the White Sox?
He was 16 with the Royals.
Okay.
He was 16 with the Royals. Yes, he was 8 with the White Sox. All right, so here we go. Shaq was 32 with the Magic from 93 to 96. He was 34 with the Lakers from 97 to 04. He was 32 with the Heat from 05 to 07. He was 32 with the Heat in 08. I don't know why he changed his number. He was 32 with the Suns from 08 to 09. He was 33 with the Cavaliers in 2010, and as Mr. Milton said, he was 36 with the Celtics in 2011. So he was all three numbers, boys, 32, 33, and 34. So, yes, I'm not forgetting Red Sox fans so they don't fucking crap their pants and get all pissed off. Of course, Big Papi, number 34, David Ortiz. This guy, I've got 2 of his jerseys hanging in my closet. The Ryan Express, Nolan Ryan, who wore 34 for 2 of the 4 teams he played for, both teams in the state of Texas. He wore 34 with the Astros, and he wore 34 with the Texas Rangers. Raleigh Fingers, come on, Steve. I know you've been trying to grow that mustache your whole life.
Oh, yeah.
Miserably. Raleigh Fingers, of course, number 34 for the A's. I think he was 34 with both Milwaukee and San Diego, too. How about this one? Brother Nate? The Dream. Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon, who, by the way, on a side note, I don't know if you guys remember this or not, but Guy Lewis, who was the head coach of the Houston Cougars during the Phi Slamma Jamma days, they wore different numbers at home and on the road.
Huh.
The reason I say this is because I remember watching, because I used to have it on tape, the 1984 Final Four video that used to be on ESPN when I was a kid because it was Georgetown's only national championship. And they wore white jerseys in the national semifinals against Virginia, and he wore 34. Georgetown was the home team in the championship game when they played Houston, and they wore their red road jerseys, and he wore 35. I don't know. Was that like a weird? I don't know. Was that Guy Lewis trying to be fancy pants or?
I know when the high schools do it down here, sometimes we'll have a player that the coach is like, oh yeah, he wears number 5 at home and number 25 on the road, and a lot of times that's just because they didn't have the correct size in both home and away, and so and instead of paying for an extra jersey, they're like, okay, we'll just give him a different number.
That's terrible. Oh my God. For all you Twinkies fans out there, the late great hero of Game 6 of the 1991 World Series, Mr. Kirby Puckett, were 34. That's what I have. Any other 34s? I mean, there's probably a shit ton that I missed, but
Oh yeah, there's so many. And this might be one of the greatest numbers of all time in terms of all around.
Any hockey 34s, Steve?
No, I was thinking of someone else who's short and stocky in baseball, though. Fernando.
Oh, Fernando's 34. Yes, Fernando Mania. Yes, Fernando Valenzuela was 34.
I'm surprised you didn't mention your boy Ray Allen, who wore 34 for a spell.
Yes, pride of upstate here, University of Connecticut, and did he wear 34 every? Well, he didn't wear 34 with the Celtics.
He did with Milwaukee.
All had 34
with the Bucks. Yep,
he wore 34 with the Bucks and with the Sonics, and he wore 34, of course, here at the University of Connecticut.
Did he wear it with the Heat too?
Yes, I think he did. But I'm trying to remember what he wore for. Oh, he wore 20 with the Celtics.
Yeah,
he wore 20 with the Celtics.
They need to bring back those purple jerseys so Giannis can wear it. Also, number 34.
Yes.
That would be nice.
Plus, those purple jerseys were great.
Arguably the greatest 34 going right now.
It's probably. Yeah, you're probably right. Any other 34s? Oh, the not going to the playoffs, Bryce Harper. Also, the not going to the playoffs, Noah Syndergaard. I got to be honest. Wait, isn't there a 34 on your team, Steve? The not going to the playoffs Cubs? Oh, wait, no. Wild card.
Is it Leicester? No, they're done. They're done as of right now, actually.
Yeah, so are we.
It's Leicester 34.
Who got the last spot?
Milwaukee.
Milwaukee just did.
The stupid Cardinals. Fuck the Cardinals.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you deserve it if you lose 8 in a row in the final week and a half of the season, the Cubs. Cardinals still suck ass. Yeah.
I think the Yankees-Astros ALCS winner wins the World Series. That's just my opinion. Just me. I would like to see the Dodgers, but I don't know. I have a feeling their bullpen's going to.
I mean, the networks obviously want Yankees Dodgers, but I want Astros Braves because that'll be like the Cracker Barrel series.
You mean like Jimmy Jacobs? Yes. You mean they're going to throw biscuits at each other?
Joey Janela's going to throw out the first biscuit.
Yes. And then if after Jock Peterson strikes out, he gets stapled in the face. That's awesome. All right. So
who says baseball can't reach the youth?
Exactly. Anyway, if you're listening to this, hopefully you're on our main event Facebook page. Post some 34s that we may have missed. Greg Maddux? No, he was 31. I don't know. There's got to be other 34s. Anyway. All right, guys. Obviously, the big story. We'll get some more news and notes. The big story right now is 1 week from tonight. We're recording on a Wednesday. Of course, you're listening to it on Friday or after. 1 week from tonight, the war officially begins. It'll be the first full 2-hour episode of NXT. These first 2 weeks, NXT has been an hour on USA and an hour on the network because that awesome show Suits needs to finish. Not exactly silk fucking stockings, but what can you? Beggars can't be choosers. Speaking of, on a side note, I've been watching Raws from '99. Was there a better Sunday night fucking run? I mean, forget the Cosby Show and Must See Thursday. Silk Stockings, Pacific Blue, and La Femme fucking Nikita. I mean, really, guys? Nothing shit. I mean, come on. And then, of course, Monday nights at 8 was Walker, Texas Ranger.
So, are we just gonna sleep on Up All Night with Rhonda Shear?
I'd like to sleep with Rhonda Shear. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait, what? Yes, you're right. So anyway, so now with Suits now ending tonight, next Wednesday will be the first 2-hour NXT on the USA Network, which will go head-to-head with the debut episode of Jimmy Walker's Dynamite on TNT. Fucking stupid name. Can we stop with the TNT marketing people having to come up with alliterations or whatever for things that blow up? I mean, really? Didn't another wrestling show that used to be on that fucking network do that once before? I mean, Jesus God, come on. What the hell is wrong with AEW on TNT? Isn't that's fine, right?
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. But if I'm Cody and them boys, as Stephen A. Smith would say, and TNT is like, okay, we're footing the bill, but we want synergy with your name. I'm like, whatever you say, Mr. TNT. I don't know who's in charge of TNT these days.
Yeah, I don't either. But
as long as the check clears, you can call me whatever the hell you want to call.
Exactly. Ric Flair used to say that in his promos. If you've got the money, honey, yep. I got the time. So, of course, that debuts next week live from Washington, D.C., which was funny because that might be the same night as the National League wildcard game, which might be like 3 blocks away when the Brewers take on the Nationals at Nationals Park.
Ooh, traffic is going to be hell.
Yeah, traffic in the hub is going to be a nightmare. First off, guys, these first 2 weeks of 1 hour NXTs have been fucking awesome.
Oh, yeah.
We'll find out the numbers probably tomorrow or Friday of what tonight's second test episode of NXT did. But that first week, guys, 1.17 million watched that 1 hour last Wednesday. That's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Nobody expected that. Steve, did you expect that number?
No, I honestly had no idea. I couldn't even imagine what it was going to be one way or the other. So, it's definitely a good start. It shows you how much the media landscape has changed. Remember when TNA would get about that much and people would say how much they're getting destroyed, but now that's a decent number for a weeknight cable show. That's not Fox News.
Correct. That's right. Nate, 1.17. What the frig?
Yeah, I was expecting something not quite half that, but maybe 3/4 that. I guess something more comparable with whatever the hell USA is showing when it's not showing wrestling, like maybe one of the Todd Chrisley shows. Also, side note, I don't know how he's still allowed to have a TV show.
I don't either.
With all the litigation and whatnot.
No, really.
The criminal charges and whatnot. But I do love Todd Chrisley though, because there's something about like how would you describe him, Steve? Like the genteel Southerner. There's something about the genteel Southerner. When like I think there was a clip where him and his son's like, Dad, we need to have a man-to-man talk. And he's like, well, I think we one man short. And I'm like, you know what, Todd Chrisley, I don't care what you and your wife did to cook the books. I'll watch. But be that as it may, I think it was a strong number. I think it's certainly above expectations, probably even above what the company itself was expecting for that first night on USA. I'd say overall it's been a successful rollout. Yes, there's been the back and forth having to go to the network, and I know that first week for sure the network was having problems with people being able to get in and see that second hour. But the good thing is now we're all past that, because that was the biggest thing for me when they announced how they were going to roll out NXT on USA. I was like, do you really want to make something more difficult for people to watch, particularly in this age, like Steve said, where media is so fractured and so personal and on demand, that you run the risk if I tell you, hey, Scott, turn off this podcast right now and turn on your TV and I'll be there. There's a risk that from the time you turn off the podcast to the time you walk over to the TV, your attention's distracted by something else.
Right.
And you might not ever get back to me. And so I thought that was a bit of a risk, but now we're past that. And I think they've got a chance to do something really special here. It's going to be interesting to see how the numbers look when they have legitimate competition, as much as people try to say it's not competition. They're pulling from the same audience. So it is competition. So it'll be interesting to see how those numbers look when AEW starts up. But for this kind of first experiment, or this first go round, I'd say it's been pretty much all positive.
Mm-hmm. And then tonight, apparently, or the second night, the numbers were really good. And like I said, we'll probably know the final viewing number probably Friday. So it looks like all 3 titles will be on the line in NXT, or 3 of the 4 titles will be on the line next Wednesday night. Shayna Baszler will defend the women's title against Candice LeRae. Street Profits will get their rematch against Fish and O'Reilly for the tag straps. And did I hear tonight that Cole is defending the NXT title against Riddle next week?
That is correct.
All right. And I wonder if we'll have a dream. Why not have the whole era defend the belts? Have Roddy defend the North American belt. I'm assuming Dream wants his rematch. Load that fucker up next week, The only thing right now that, what are the rumored matches for the first AEW? Is Jericho defending the belt? No, he's not.
We've got the women's title match.
Yes, we have Nyla Rose against what's her face?
Rio.
Are
they starting the tag tournament, Steve?
I think
yes.
Or is that the next week?
No, they're starting. They're starting the tournament that night. No, they are starting it that night, and the October 30th episode is the finals. So by Full Gear, I still think that title sucks. I think they just bring back like Unforgiven or something. WWE's got to let them borrow one of their throwaways, like I don't know, No Mercy or something.
Use all the WCW names you're not using.
Yeah, Bash
Halloween Havoc.
Yeah, or Super Brawl.
I got the card up right now. They have Cody's against Sammy Guevara.
Yes, that's right.
MJF versus Brandon Cutler, who I only think we've seen in the original Battle Royal.
Mm-hmm.
Nyla versus Riho. Jericho and two mystery partners against Omega and the Bucks. And then they just announced Hangman Page versus Pac.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. So we finally get the match we were supposed to have back in Vegas.
Yeah.
That did not happen.
Which makes sense coming off of the angle they shot at the end of All Out.
Right, exactly. Which card is better right now? I gotta say, guys, NXT's better.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I definitely think the NXT card is better. Does that mean that's the one I'll be watching live, though? That's the question, Scotty.
Well, here's the thing, Nate. And I was having a discussion with my friend Mike, who I've mentioned often, and he will hopefully join us on a future episode of Main Event. My friend Mike Valenti, who's him and his brother co-host the Squared Circle Psychobabble podcast on YouTube. He comes to my desk and we chat almost every day. And I was telling him that I think a realistic number for next Wednesday night on TNT is between 800 and 925,000 viewers.
Mm-hmm.
AEW is not going to do 2 million.
No. Oh, God, no.
Kenny is smoking something or he's sniffing his aluminum foil dye. I don't know what the fuck his problem is, but shut up, dude. We'll get to that in a minute. 2 million is not happening.
No.
Not happening.
I can see $1 million, though.
You think so? If they hit $1 million, they should be happy.
Yeah, I could for the first show, I could see them touching $1 million. I don't think that'll be the mark going forward, but I do think maybe for that first night, they might be able to hit $1 million.
Obviously, in AEW's defense,
especially with when you got to factor in the way that TNT has been an active partner in terms of promoting it.
Right.
So I think just like you've got your hardcores that are going to be watching anyway, but then maybe you've got people that have been flipping through watching, I don't know what they show on TNT, Castle reruns. And somebody's like a Nathan Fillion fan plus a lapsed wrestling fan, and they're like, maybe I'll check this out. So maybe you'll draw in that crowd as well.
Steve, what are your thoughts on the format of NXT these first couple weeks?
The formatics?
Yeah, the formatics. Correct. Making a T-shirt for that.
I don't know. You said the NXT card is better, which I totally agree with, but that's going to be the mystery. How are they going to do it? Is it just going to be straight wrestling? Are they going to throw in some of is it going to look just more like the pay-per-view? Or are they going to throw in some of these like kind of road AEW video bites to introduce you to the characters?
Right.
I did like what NXT did last week, where they would do like these brief 30-second, 60-second videos going in and out of some of the breaks.
Yeah.
To show you some of the people who weren't on. Like I remember Damian Priest, former Punishment Martinez, they did one for him. And so it's like, by the way, here's some other people on the roster for people who are tuning in for the first time. Well, if you're tuning in for the first time to AEW, which a lot of people will be, because you had to search for it, either pay on pay-per-view or, find it on YouTube or Bleacher Report or whatever, you're going to have to introduce a lot of these people. Even like the Young Bucks, they're not necessarily household names.
Right.
Riho, you couldn't even get off your tongue. So you have to. You're going to use like Jericho, Moxley, Rhodes to get in your kind of more mainstream wrestling fans if you can get them. Your hardcore fans are going to watch it no matter what. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be, how are they going to interplay with those newer names. Crowd's going to know them. The crowd there is going to know them, but the viewer at home is not.
Yeah, I agree with that, Steve. I think that the benefit that AEW might have is that the one thing that they won't have to deal with, which ROH had to deal with coming out of the gate, what Impact had to deal with a little bit coming out of the gate, is that the show is going to look like a professional show. In the sense that, the crowd's going to be hot, the production is going to be pretty solid. They'll probably have some rough spots just because it's the first time they're doing live TV. So, we don't know how much is like AEW crew, how much is Turner crew. But I think overall the production will probably be one of the highlights. And then, like you said, both shows are going to have to get into the habit of introducing people. And I feel like with NXT, the first 2 weeks, it was kind of like a soft launch for a restaurant. Where, we'll let some people in, let you sample the menu, spread some good word, get some word of mouth going, tell people how cool this is. But the real official opening of the restaurant, the grand opening, isn't going to be until next week. And I think they're going to do a lot, or they should do a lot. I hope they do a lot in terms of letting people know why we should care about Undisputed Era, why we should care about The Dream, why we should care about Baszler and a lot of these other people on the roster. Because, I think if it's just a straight wrestling show, sure, it'll be good for people like us. But you're going to need stories. You're going to need connections to grab, the casual USA viewer.
What do you think of that, Steve?
Well, as we were talking there, I was looking up ratings from TNT and trying to see what are they going to have to do to equal or best the normal stuff, and they're only getting 0.8 to 1.215 million viewers on a week-to-week basis for their current primetime scripted shows. So obviously that's not really much. They had Rizzoli and Isles just ended, and that was pulling in 4.2.
But Angie Harmon's such a smoke show.
You said Rizzoli and Isles was pulling in 4.2?
Yeah, 4.2 million. So this is,
Rizzoli and Isles. I do love me some Rizzoli and Isles, though. But who are these people that are still watching Rizzoli and Isles reruns on TNT?
I know, seriously.
Yeah.
They might as well go back to they might as well put on 99 Nitros.
What was that show with Ray Romano, Scott Bakula, and Andre Brower?
Oh, those three fucking. Oh, what was that?
Oh man.
Men of a Certain Age.
Yes.
And they're like all three dudes going through midlife crises.
Oh, it's terrible.
Well, this is just kind of interesting looking at this. I just, was looking it up as we were talking. Now I'm just gone down a rabbit hole of TNT ratings. Looking at the demographic, that 18 to 49 demo, these are year-to-year change over some of their shows. Animal Kingdom down 15.38%. Last Ship down 28.39%. Even that Rizzoli and Isles that was doing well is down almost 5%.
Is Animal Kingdom, is that show with Ellen Barkin and all the crime kids and whatever? Okay.
Yeah, because they've got that, and then they've got Claws, which is the one with Niecy Nash from Reno 911.
Yes.
Where she's running this drug operation out of a beauty parlor.
Down 37% from last season, Claws.
Claws? Wow.
Yeah. So they're every single one of their shows is plummeting year to year, especially
so
for
AEW could come in and just slide in and be the golden child.
Yeah. I mean, even if it does draw 1 million, it's going to be beating Claws's 815,000.
Unheralded Eddie Murphy movie, by the way, Golden Child. I was in 8th grade, I think, when that came out.
He just had a reunion with the kid from the movie.
Oh yeah,
it was on I think it was on Facebook or Twitter. The stars of the Golden Child reunite, and it was Eddie and the kid. It was oh,
I can't wait till he tours. That's another topic.
So yeah, that's interesting though, because I think they'll I think the first week ratings for AEW, Scott, will probably be pretty high. Like I said, I'm thinking 900. Maybe they can even touch that million, but on average, I would think probably around 7, maybe 8. So they're right in line with the rest of TNT's programming.
Yeah. Well, and then will NXT settle as well? Or this is gonna be kind of fun. My one thing that I personally am not going to get into is like who's winning the ratings war, because like I don't know. I think it's kind of antiquated, some of the way they do the ratings these days. And I actually had heard today on a separate sports station that they're looking at changing that altogether anyways, because it's not really a great metric to have with the way. I'm not going to be watching NXT live. I hope to watch AEW live, but we got other things. We, occasionally we'll tape the show on Wednesday. I got, personal stuff going on. But NXT, I'm going to watch Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Probably split it up a little bit, no doubt. So, like, are those metrics even really valuable? It's not like the Monday Night Wars where you can, like, plug in 2 TVs and split your cable router and...
Yeah. Well, awesome. I mean, rating, like, we talked about it, like, in this age of on-demand services, and we haven't even gotten to the tipping point when Disney unleashes its monster, awesome. which is going to cut into a bunch of networks ratings. I think we're at a point where the metrics need to be modified. Like they've tried with some of like the DVR and the some of the overrun type of stuff they've done with the ratings, but it's still not really reflective, I think, Scotty, of who's actually watching stuff.
Right.
And when are people watching stuff?
By the way, Steve, can you look up the ratings for Game 1 of the 97 Eastern Conference first round between the Nets and the Bulls?
Yeah, hold on one second.
It's got a 1, Steve Willie.
He's efforting.
I think this is going to be my new hobby.
Looking up garbage TNT show. What was the show with Mark Paul Gosselaar and what's his face? Was it Breckenmeyer?
Yeah.
Shit lawyers. What the fuck? Stupid
Franklin
show was
and
that?
Bash.
Franklin and Bash. That's right.
I think they did a crossover with Rizzoli and Isles.
Of course they did. It's called Saved by the Courtroom.
Yeah, because I want to say Malcolm McDowell played like the boss of the law firm.
That's awesome.
I think it was Malcolm McDowell. But yeah, that was Franklin and Bash.
Franklin and Bash.
But yeah, I think we've stumbled upon a new segment on the main event. Steve just going back and reading Nielsen ratings. We call it Willie Nielsen.
Willie Nielsen.
I can tell you that in 1997, the Bulls TV ratings were miles ahead of the league package. I'm quoting the LA Times from 1997. The league package was down 10% from the peak 96 levels. Because so many stars were injured. You had a Shaq injured, Mourning injured, Robinson injured, Barkley injured. Billy Packer was not happy. Said the NBA doesn't show the NBA. The NBA shows Michael Jordan.
Let's see if I was right, Steve. Did the Nets and Bulls even play in the first round? I know the Nets and Bulls played at some point.
You can't get this stuff on any other wrestling podcast.
No, really not.
Is anybody actually going through the TNT ratings and comparing and contrasting?
I know, really.
You don't get this from Meltzer.
But no. Let's see. See here. I could have. Oh, there it is. 1998. I was off by a year. The 1998 Eastern Conference first round, the Bulls swept the Nets. Sorry, wrong year. You guys swept Washington in 97. There you go. Just want to let you know. Look at all these sweeps. God, these playoffs. And as much as the games were fun, there was a fuck ton of sweeps. This is dull. Jazz swept the Clippers. Clippers made the playoffs in 98? Really?
You're going down so many rabbit holes today.
Talk about the 97 Clippers. No, I'm looking. So,
Sean Livingston, also 34, just retired last week.
Yeah.
Well, the round mound to rebound. Hello, forgot about Sir Charles. He was 34. That's right. Any other 34s? Who was 34 on the Trailblazers? No, never mind. All right. So
Isaiah Ryder. It was either J.R. Ryder or Rashid.
Who was 90? Who was 34 on the 97-98 Nets? That's what I want to see. The X-Man, Xavier McDaniel. Yes. Rabbit hole I'm never coming out of.
Like I was gonna either guess X-Man or Kerry Kittles. One of the two.
Kittles was 30. That was a few episodes ago. Number 33, Yinka Dare.
Oh, wow.
That's okay, but number 54, episode 154, we'll have Jack Haley. 112, Nate. We forgot Lucius Harris.
Who is a white guy that from the Bulls who would be Dennis Rodman's personal keeper? He was on the Spurs.
Yeah, he was on the Spurs too.
Luke Longley?
No, it was Jack. Was it Jack Haley?
I think it was Jack Haley.
Well, Jack Haley was not on the 90. He wasn't on the last Bulls team in 98.
No. But he was like basically Rodman's babysitter in San Antonio when they brought him to Chicago.
Strictly for that reason.
Yeah.
Keith Booth? No. Judd Bushler.
Number 30, he was on the Bulls.
Keith Van Horn?
These guys are all going to show up on AEW on TNT. No. Is Rodman?
You know who that is, Tony? That's Keith Van Horn.
Is Rodman going to join the Dark Order?
I could see Dennis Rodman showing up on AEW.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's not outside the realm of possibility.
Will Karl Malone try to give him a diamond cutter? Here's the thing. Let's talk about these two brands' rosters, because this is key. Because we've been talking about guys like Hangman Page and all these other guys on this AEW roster, and you made a good point, Nate, about accessibility and them being out to the masses, because not everybody watches the YouTube, being the elite and all this snarky millennial bullshit. Could that be a problem for AEW in the beginning, guys? The casual viewer wondering who the fuck the librarian is and who are these weird guys, the Dark What, and why are the private party guys hugging each other or best friends, whatever the hell it is. Do you think the lack of exposure early on may hurt AEW's numbers? And how long do you think, I'll start with you, Steve, how long do you think it'll take before the AEW roster kind of finds itself on a weekly basis?
Well, it's the balancing act, isn't it? It's the balancing act between the roster itself, but the unknown of that might bring the ratings down versus, there's a shiny new toy that we can watch and see what it's like. So that might bring ratings up. So that's why I like your kind of prediction of 800,000, even up to 1 million. I think that their talent has, the talent to shine. Mm-hmm. They have Jericho has proven over the last few years that he can go with anybody and bring them up to his level.
Right.
The Lucha Brothers, pretty much you watch the Lucha Brothers for the first time, you're going to get sucked into them. For me, it's whether some of the more mid-card or the lower card talent will be able to shine.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not going to just be able to do Omega, Bucks, Lucha Brothers, Jericho. You're going to have to mix it up, which is why I do like the appearance of having Cody Rhodes versus Sammy Guevara on the card, because it is to someone established against someone who is virtually unknown.
Right. What do you think about the rosters, Nate?
Yeah, I think early on, a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of bringing eyes to the show is just what Steve said. It's the show itself. And the fact that it exists and it's this brand new thing and you've got a lot of hype around it. And so people are going to naturally be curious about the hype. The roster is going to be a work in progress. I think, you got a lot of talent there, but it's also a lot of people, as we've mentioned on the show, who can't go on Ellen. And I think what you're going to see, it's also a lot of people who have not been on live TV on a weekly basis. And so that's another skill in and of itself that they're going to have to learn. Whereas with NXT, even though it was on the network, you've got these guys and girls that have been working in front of a live TV audience for years. And so it's just a matter of going from a smaller network to a bigger network. Whereas for the majority of this roster in AEW, it's a brand new thing. And then that's where guys like Cody and Jericho and Moxley and even Kenny and the Bucks to a certain extent come in, because they have that experience. And so, I think early on the show is going to be buoyed by the fact that it's new and the network is behind it, and you'll have the momentum of just being fresh and launching this thing. And then after like a month or so, because this is also not the best time to launch a new show, whether you're talking about NXT or AEW or even moving SmackDown to Fox, because you're getting into the holiday season and people's schedules are going to start to get choppy. But I think, you'll probably see a dip in November, maybe even December. But I think it'll start to stabilize as we get towards the beginning of 2020.
Speaking of schedule, AEW, obviously, WWE has multiple pay-per-views coming up. They got Hell in a Cell in a couple weeks, which I think, we will not be. Our next episode, we will be recapping that pay-per-view because I think it's Sunday the 6th. So our next episode, 135, will actually be recapping Hell in a Cell. But after, like AEW right now, after they establish their champions, you've got Jericho, you'll have a women's champion, and then you'll have whoever wins the tournament. Mm-hmm. And then they've got the pay-per-view on November 9th. And then they go back in limbo. They're going to have to really rely on the TV between, let's see, it's Saturday the 9th, so 10. It'd be between Wednesday, November 13th, and whenever. I mean, when will their next pay-per-view be? Will it be in February? Will it be in March? You're not going to do it in April, obviously, because, well, you could do it the week after WrestleMania, but you'll get crushed. Yeah, or January, depending.
I think announce Full Gear until the day of
the night of Full. They promoted it the night of All Out. Yep. Yep. So maybe the night of Full Gear will get a night. Well, they'll announce when the next pay per view is. I'm going to predict it's like the end of February.
I'll say January.
Yeah, I'll split the difference and say end of January, beginning of February. Maybe they'll kick off Lethal History Month.
Yes, of which Sam Darnold will not be on.
Yes, we'll have Sonny Kiss win the world title, which I'd be 100% for. Sonny Kiss is great.
Oh, I love Sonny Kiss. The only reason, Steve, I don't say January is because you still have Double or Nothing the end of May. Do you think that's too big a gap?
Yeah, January, March, May. You got every other month.
So you're saying there will be something in March. So you think they're going to do something in March too?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. I didn't
not?
think we were discussing that. Because it sounds like because I'm curious now that the TV is going to be established, because we're not going to have Fyter Fest. That was a fucking video game circle jerk. That was fake. Not fake, but that wasn't a real thing.
Yeah, that was just to have a card.
Yeah.
Just to keep the vibe going.
While everyone's playing Minecraft.
Yeah. They're doing their buddy Jabali a solid.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he's getting a fucking inner tube shoved up his ass or whatever the hell was going on in that match.
That was terrible.
I don't know if
Fight for the Fallen was just basically just like a house show that they put on
for charity. Pretty much. I can't see them doing that again. Not for free. Here's the problem. I know we're kind of going off the path here a minute, but let's talk about this. We know that All Out is $50, and that's fine. We know that Double or Nothing is $50, and that's fine. I don't think Full Gear can be $50. I think after a while, fans are going to be like, all right, guys, I know you think just because you're AEW and you're the sexy thing right now, you can't be charging $50 for everything. Because one thing WWE does not do is charge $50 for anything anymore. So when do you I don't know if they've announced how much Full Gear is going to be. I haven't looked at my BR Live, my Bleacher Report Live app yet. So I don't know how much Full Gear is going to be, but I can't see it. I can't see it being $50, guys. I can't. They can't charge $50 again. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
30? 30 maybe. But I don't know, maybe 35. But they can't do much more than that.
Yeah, and I think it's crazy because WWE really kind of skewed the math when it comes to pay-per-views. Like they even hurt their own business with the network when the network first came out.
Yes, they did.
And so I think they undercharged when they first dropped the network, and now like with the tier system, you're seeing them trying to course correct now and get really what they should have been charging in the first place for some of this stuff. But I think that you can do maybe like your two big shows, you can do 50, but then the other shows I would say 30, 35 tops would probably be a good price point. Because you don't want to overcharge your audience, but at the same time, Steve, it's like, and you saw when you were at All Out, like there's an audience that's willing to pay pretty much whatever these dudes say. So you don't want to leave money on the table, but you also don't want to be too greedy. So it's a fine line I think they have to walk.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if the goal is to bring in more fans in the hardcore, those people aren't going to go to every single week of a TV show. They'll go to the big. I keep saying big shows, and now the theme's in my head. They're not.
Which one? The Ruthless Aggression one? It's the big show. Yep. I heard that on my Apple Music this morning when I was at the gym. Made me laugh because I hadn't heard it in ages. So it'd be interesting to see, and we'll monitor it in our next episode. 135.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
All right. Well, I have done more research on TNT ratings.
Uh-oh.
No, actually, I went to Bleacher Report Live, and it is indeed $49.99 for full year.
Wow, that's. I got to be honest, guys. I don't know if I'm paying. I don't know if I'm going to pay that.
Yeah, I am definitely surprised by that.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to pay that.
Yeah, I might have to call my cable company for that one.
Yeah, I don't know. Call my cable. You're gonna mail in your bill to get a free Hangman Page cardboard stand-up. Wow. I don't know, guys. I have a feeling that may change.
Yeah, I think
AEW needs to stop acting like TNA. They're not broke, for fuck's sakes. I mean, the Cons are not some startup company, for Jesus. I mean, come on. No, I have a feeling that may change.
Yeah,
I have a feeling that
maybe
may
not
change.
For November if they've already.
Oh, that's true.
If they've already, because if people are already paying it and then they drop the price.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, you're right.
But maybe for the next one, because that is really surprising.
I'm surprised that's $50. I really am.
Honestly, though, like from a business standpoint, it's probably the one they could still grab for because the excitement's still there. Yeah. Whereas it might not be there in January or February.
Good point. So and maybe next year.
When Cody's like, we got to get this money while it's there to be got.
Exactly. Because by next year's full gear, they may not be charging $50. Maybe charging $20 like in your house. All right. Before we go to break, Steve, you recommended a new segment on our show, and you're fucking great. So that as well, we all are. But
you forgot about that.
What we're gonna do, guys, because unfortunately, all these companies are kind of fucking us because we only have one. We can only record on a certain day of the week, but now there's shows literally every friggin' day. So what Steve thought of, and I thought this was pretty cool, is we will give you some matches that have been on TV in the last couple of weeks that you should check out. And they're all check-outable. Whether it be WWE, NXT, AEW, New Japan, because I know there's a match, Steve, you want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
ROH, are they still in business? Impact.
I'm having issues with ROH right now that we don't need to get into on the air.
Everybody has issues with ROH right now.
Yeah,
including as to whether the library will be on the network by 2021. So Steve, I want to make one match suggestion. Apparently, this five-way, this past Monday night on Raw, the five-way to determine who's Seth's next opponent, was pretty good. I watched it on YouTube the next day. It was a really good match. I enjoyed it. It was Ricochet, Rude,
Ray,
AJ, and I can't remember the fifth guy.
Nakamura.
Yeah.
I watched on YouTube the next day. Match was really good. Check it out. It's probably on YouTube. It's probably on Hulu right now, and it'll be on the network, I think, in like a couple weeks. But I would definitely check that five-way out. It was really good. NXT, of course, the last couple weeks has been great. Keith Lee and Jokovic. I think they wrestled last week, right? And they wrestled tonight. And I heard that match is really good. I haven't caught that yet, but apparently I heard it was very good. But Steve, there's a match in particular that you want to talk about.
Yeah, and I'm welcome to any of the listeners, tweeting or putting something on Facebook, or even if you look me up on Messenger or Instagram, dropping me a line. It doesn't have to be like, I like more the stuff, like even NXT, but New Japan or indie stuff. It could be anything. It could be mainstream WWE. That's totally fine. But one I was really excited to watch, a lot of the reason, just because we've been talking about him so much with our TNA reviews, was the comeback match between Amazing Red and Will Ospreay from the August 22nd New Japan card in the United States for the Super J Cup. And It's a month old, but it wasn't released until a couple weeks ago. And Ospreay had been requesting a match with Red for pretty much the entire year. Tweeting about it, sending notes off to New Japan. So they basically, it sounded like they booked this one-off in Tacoma in the first round, put it on as the main event, and it was as good as you can expect. Ospreay pretty much said how much this match meant to him. And we have Kevin Kelly did the overdub for this. It was that was the hard part of watching the show, is that all the commentary was overdubbed in by Kevin by himself. So it was a little bit clunky, I guess.
Right.
Even some of the music was dubbed in. So that was distracting. But, Kevin did a great job of getting across that Ospreay started wrestling in his backyard at 14 with his buddies, had the trampoline off, and what they would do would imitate Amazing Red's moves, that they would see in TNA and ROH. And we've seen Red and the SATs, his cousins. And now they're, also training the next generation, like Private Party. So it was very interesting to see. You could see that Ospreay had a great deal of respect from him. Then they just started, nailing into each other, kind of more trying to outwit. It wasn't like a typical Ospreay match where it's like 15 minutes of go, 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 go. There would be these slow parts of the match, and then they build up to these really quick bursts of energy, like a lot of moves put together, then slow it down a bit. I really enjoyed it after the match, which Ospreay won. He gave just a really honest, touching kind of post-match speech like they do at all these New Japan shows at the end, putting over Red and how important he was to him. He kind of broke down crying and took his belt, and those New Japan belts have the names of a lot of the past champions on them.
Yes.
So he started,
I love it.
Yeah, like reading off the names, Owen Hart and Liger, and then he just goes, you know what? It's a fucking shame that your name is not on here. And like, it is a fucking shame that you do not get the respect that you have over the years, and you're not, in every Hall of Fame. And so he just started like shooting on New Japan, saying it will also be a fucking shame if you do not rebook Amazing Red. And I was like, okay,
wow,
okay, Will Ospreay. And then he just, and then it also felt like he was trying to convince Red to keep wrestling.
Yep.
He said, I respect your decision, but based on that match we just have, you were still great. You're still able to do it. So like poor Red's like on the spot right there. His body's all broken down probably. He's like, no, I don't want him to book me. I don't want him to book me.
Yeah.
But
didn't I tell you I was retiring?
It's fine. They did book him on these East Coast tour that's coming up in a couple months. So he's going to be on all 3 shows and tag team matches. So it worked. I just really recommend it. And I do have, Kevin was nice enough. We asked him if they could say a little something about the match, because I know it was important to him. Yeah, so we do have our first response to our call out for matches of the show. So He said, this is a direct quote: "Seeing Amazing Red and Will Ospreay face off meant so much for Will, who idolized Red for his innovative offensive style. For me," meaning Kevin, "getting to call the match meant so much because I feel like I watched Red, the SATs, Loki, etc. all grow up in front of me. It had been 17 or 18 years since getting to see him, and he hasn't missed a beat. Now the young man has kids of his own. Crazy but wonderful. Totally worth going out of your way to see the generationally significant match from the Super J Cup." So, I mean, can't get much nicer words.
Nope. From a pure expert.
Yeah.
Guy who knows his shit. So, thank you, Steve.
He doesn't know Rizzoli and Isles ratings.
Yeah, that's right.
Real quick, I have a match for the listeners.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It kind of ties into what Steve was talking about in terms of emotion, because the match I'm going to recommend is from Impact Wrestling last week. So this is the Friday, September the 20th episode, which featured LAX's farewell match in the promotion.
Yep.
And it was LAX, Santana and Ortiz versus Rich Swann and Willie Mack, who are super underrated as a tag team. Mm-hmm. And it was as good a match as you would expect, and the crowd was into it. And for as much crap as Impact has gotten over the years, what they've done over the last 16, 18 months, I think, has been really solid in terms of matchmaking and storytelling, and also showing respect for these guys and girls. And to have Santana Ortiz put over Mack and Swann on the way out, but then this celebration, like from the locker room, the wrestlers, the announcers, and even the fans were throwing money into the ring to show their appreciation for LAX as they move on to AEW. It was a really cool moment, because these are guys that when they first showed up in TNA, I didn't think much of them. I just thought these guys aren't the real LAX. You know, they're not Homicide and Hernandez. But they won me over, man, and they had some really good matches that not a lot of people saw, because not a lot of people watched Impact on Destination America and on Pursuit Channel. But hopefully now that they're moving to Access, people will get to see more of these guys and girls. And I think I read that, or maybe it was Pollock and Ting over on Post that had said for the first few weeks of showings on Access, they're going to be airing the last few pay-per-views.
Yeah,
oh, wow, that's cool.
Yeah, they're going to be airing
Tuesday,
starting Tuesday, like Homecoming, Rebellion, some of the great pay-per-views they've had over the past couple of years, featuring a lot of LAX's matches. So you can check that out. And then, like I was saying, my match recommendation is LAX versus Willie Mack and Rich Swann from Impact last week.
Yep, that was on my list. I was planning on checking it out and possibly even recommending it, but it didn't pop up on the Impact Plus until yesterday. So I'm glad you picked that one.
Yes. No. So there we go. We got a WWE match, an Impact match, and a New Japan match. Very good, guys. Excellent. All right. Segment 1, kicked ass as always, the A block. When we return, we're going to stick in Japan, except we're going to go back in time to the early 90s. Brother Nate had the shoe for our newest installment of the New Japan Classic Match Picks. And just like me with Chono, Nate picked two of his personal favorites, and you know, they're awesome for all of us. And we're going to go back in time. Early 90s, New Japan, morphing with another company who loved Rizzoli and Isles. Brother Nate, Brother Steve, Brother Scott. B Block, after the break.
B Block because alliteration.
Symmetry.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Place to be Nations, JT Rosero and Chad Campbell here. We want to let you know that we have over 24 podcasts available on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and PlaceToBeNation.com. We now offer them to you on 2 great feeds. On the Place to Be Nation Wrestling feed, we dive into topics running the gamut from today's WWE to the glory days of yesteryear and the ins and outs of the territory days. In addition to our full-length shows, we also deliver to you special pod blasts on topics old and new.
The Place to Be Nation Pop feed is a veritable treasure trove of great content, offering tremendous shows covering the land of movies, television, life, comics, and sports, brought to you by the most knowledgeable and insightful folks in the podcast world.
You can find all of these current shows, plus archives of our previous podcasts over the past 8 years as well, by subscribing to our feeds on iTunes. And while there, be sure to rate and leave feedback as well. All of these shows, plus others, available at PlaceToBeNation.com, where we cover pro wrestling, sports, movies, comics, plus in-depth stretch projects and more. Be sure to support our site by using www.placetobenation.com/Amazon while doing your online shopping. And be sure to join us at our forum at bigelow34.proboards.com for all sorts of wrestling, sports, and pop culture discussion each and every day where you can make your voice heard. We also want to thank our friends at Bonehead's Wing Bar, ProWrestlingOnly.com, and TheHistoryOfWrestling.com. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr as well. PlayStation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Back on Place to Be Nation's main event, episode number 134. Nate, Steve, and Scott holding it down. And I want to take some time out to recognize one of the most underrated running backs in the history of professional football, that being one Thurman Thomas.
For
his contribution to that great Bills team in the 90s. And, you know, I like what we're going to do in this B block, Scott, because we're going to talk about two of my favorite wrestlers of all time. You could say they are immaculate to me. So we can't say that word without bringing up Franco Harris as well, who was great in his day. Not so great when talking about Penn State, but we'll leave that to the side. We won't go there. It's been a long show. But what else I've got going on the table right now, Scott, is of course the Kings of Sport Patreon. Again, shout out to new father Marcus Vanderberg and his lovely wife for the arrival of young baby Simba to the family. And you can check out all sorts of stuff on the Kings of Sport Patreon, patreon.com/the Kings of Sport. We've got video versions of the show. We've got political shows. Matter of fact, our latest entry on the Patreon feed features myself and our political expert, Chris Ely, talking about the candidacy of Marianne Williamson, who is somebody, like, I would love to hear Steve Willie just talk to random people in general. But I think like a heart-to-heart between Steve Willie and Marianne would be fascinating. just Steve Willie, Marianne Williamson, and Terrence Howard. That's a table for three. And Marianne's just like, you know, Steve, you seem like a nice guy, but I don't believe in vaccination. And then Terrence Howard's like, see, really, there's no such thing as disease because there's no straight lines on the earth. And when you plant a seed and look at the flower looks back at you and you realize that you just planted your own existence. Like, there's a reason you weren't War Machine in the sequels, brother.
I see. You just stole my thunder. Yeah, exactly.
Even though I loved his portrayal of Rhodey in the first one.
Yeah.
But, so check that out, Kings of Sport, patreon.com/Kings of Sport, and check out what we got going on. And I don't know this for sure, but there's a rumor on the streets that one Marcus Vanderberg might be returning, dropping in the midst of his paternity leave to hop on a show this weekend.
Oh, that's excellent.
So we might have a first-hand account of Marcus's first month as a new dad.
Now, who's the one that holds baby Simba over the cliff to the world, to the Patreon world? Is that an extra like $20 or to get to see that?
We have to do that. We have to set up a cameo for that.
Oh, okay. All right.
We'll just have Marcus hold up his child and give you a birthday greeting.
Just don't do it over the railing. Yeah. Yes, I am a proud Patreon sponsor and continue to be.
As am I.
Check it out. All right. Now, on PlayStation.com and on our two wonderful feeds, we got a ton of stuff. On the PTBN Pop feed, weekly shows. Hard-traveling fanboys attempted to fix the terrible 2005 film Elektra. Can it be done? No. But find out and fix it or nix it. DC For You wraps up September with the new current events, looking at all the big DC comics, TV, and movie news for the month, as well as picking their top DC books from the month. This Week in the NFL hits weekly as well. Roger and Mr. D'Amato recapping the last set of games, previewing the upcoming weekend's batch, Week 4 of the NFL season coming up this weekend. Thank you for your running back, Mr. Montgomery, Steve Willie, because he helped me win something that's legal. Yay. Brand new show joins the Pop Feed. Siblings Kevin and Mary host the Brother-Sister Rewatch podcast. Episode 17, they bring you The Office, Season 3, Episodes 5 and 6. Pop Goes the Movies, myself and Miss Jennifer Smith review the highly anticipated sequel to Stephen King's It Chapter 2. Check it out. It was awesome. On the newest edition of Laugh in Theater, Andy welcomes Jason Sherman to live watch Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. And on the most recent episode of Looking Forward, Looking Back, it's the summer movie recap and wager. It's Andy, Miranda, myself, Mr. Capel, Mr. Sellers, who won the wager. It was not me because I found out Quentin Tarantino doesn't make money on his movies, and if you're not 3 years old, you're not worth anything. You'll see what I mean when you listen. Greatest Song of the 80s tournament continues. We're in the regional finals, guys. The Sweet 16. There'll be 2 polls a day. You can get in on the action on Facebook, searching PTBN's Greatest Song of the 80s tournament and liking the page. Be sure to weigh in. Today we had a couple of matchups. And it was moderately tough because the same artist was in both matchups. So let me give you the skinny. Of course, the two songs that I like to go to the end, Beat It and Billie Jean, are both still alive. So, the Rio region is complete, and Journey's Don't Stop Believin'. We knew that's going to go far. The Electric Avenue region was won by Thriller. So, let's see. I'm looking for posts. Here we go. All right, so here we go. Regional finals of the Panama region. Here we go, guys. Ready? And right now, after 84 votes, it's 42-42 right now.
Wow.
Queens, Another One Bites the Dust versus Simple Minds, Don't You Forget About Me.
That was a tough one.
Yeah, I had to flip a coin. Not going to lie.
Yeah, I picked Queen, and then I regretted it because of the next one we'll talk about.
I mean, only one of those songs was the theme for one Junkyard Dog.
That is true.
That is a good point, yeah.
And that is why Queen gets my vote.
Oh.
That's true.
That would be great.
If you came
out to Don't You Forget About Me.
Don't you forget about these cakes.
So forget grabbing them. Maybe Bill Watts used it in Mid-South because it was cheap. I don't know. But anyway, that's a tie right now on Facebook. I don't know what the Twitter vote is. All right. And then the Africa regional finals. After 92 votes, this is also tied.
Wow.
Facebook. Eye of the Tiger and Under Pressure.
Ooh.
And this is why, Under Pressure, I wouldn't mind seeing it win. I don't think it's going to. But then I realized, oh, wait, 2 Queen songs. I would rather have Under Pressure go through than Another One Bites the Dust. So, yeah, that was Under Pressure for me there.
I mean, that's close. That's close for me. Under Pressure is a great song, and it led to one of the greatest moments in music history when Vanilla Ice had to explain why he did not. See, Steve Willie, their song goes ting, 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 tiggy, ting, ting. My song goes ting, 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 tiggy, ting, ting.
That's so good.
Okay, Robert.
While Suge Knight hung my tinky ting ting over the fucking balcony. Like Michael Jackson did. Oh, God.
Man, this is a close one, though. I think, though, I might have to give the slight edge to Eye of the Tiger because it's been coming up in my shuffle when I'm at work lately. And I think Eye of the Tiger is one of those songs, Scotty, that was cool, and then it went through a period where it was corny. And then I don't know if it's age or just, like the Creed movies been in my consciousness the last couple of years. I don't know if, the Rocky nostalgia has kicked in, but I like Eye of the Tiger again. I went through a stretch where if it came on the radio, I was immediately changing the channel.
Mm-hmm.
But now, I'm back in with Eye of the Tiger, so I'm gonna go with Eye of the Tiger on this one.
All right. Well, here are the last 2 matchups. They're not votable yet. They're not. I think they're going to be up when you listen to this. Actually, by the time you listen to this, it'll already be up. But here we go. 1999. This is the Funky Town Regional Final. 1999 and Sweet Child of Mine. Oh man. Please don't hate me. Please don't hate me, Prince. I love you, Prince. I will love you every day, but I cannot not vote for arguably my favorite Guns N' Roses song of all time. I had to.
It's a great song. Like both songs are great.
They're absolutely. 1999 is an amazing record.
Like Sweet Child of Mine is, I think after Welcome to the Jungle, actually, I see that's the thing, Scott. The more I talk about GNR when they were actually good, no disrespect, Mr. Rose, but like I think like November Rain and You Could Be Mine, the one from Terminator, that was a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Paradise City, like they had a bunch of good songs.
Yes,
so I don't know exactly where I would rank Sweet Child of Mine, but it's up there. But Prince, 1999, like that's a song that just works on a multitude of levels. And
well, first off, Prince got boned in this tournament because he ended up having to face himself.
Yeah.
When Doves Cry went against Let's Go Crazy, which is probably 1 and 2 on my list of favorite.
Wow,
songs of all time.
that's tough. Because I think either one of those songs could have made it to the Final Four.
Absolutely.
Yep. And by the way, Purple Rain is still alive. So,
I was going to say, isn't that the next one?
Yes, Purple Rain. No, Purple Rain. Well, Purple Rain right now is going up against In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins in the Love Shack Regional Final.
Oh, that's the one I have a bone to pick with.
And Purple Rain is comfortably ahead.
Okay, good.
As it should be.
That's why I didn't feel bad not voting for 1999.
Yeah.
Because In the Air Tonight should not have gotten that far, and I think it only got that far because of its comeback in the Hangover.
Yeah.
With
Mike Tyson singing.
Yeah.
Which way did you go, Steve?
I went 1999. I'll take Prince all day, every day.
I had to go Sweet Child. I couldn't not.
You know what's great, Steve? Side note that I just stumbled onto, I guess, a year after it was released. Have you heard Prince Originals?
No.
Okay, Scott, Steve, it's a quote unquote new Prince album, but all it is like they went into the vaults and they got all the songs Prince wrote for everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
They got his original masters of him doing the songs. So
wait, he's singing Manic Monday?
You got Prince. Is Manic Monday on there? He's got. I know Glamorous Life is on there. Prince sings Sex Shooter, which is something I didn't know I needed in my life. But
we all need it in our lives.
What a time to yeah, of course. Nothing Compares to You is on there. Prince singing Jungle Love is a treat.
We must get this.
Yes, Prince Originals. It's like I recently just stumbled onto it. Like I said, I think it came out end of last year, maybe beginning of this year.
Pitchfork gave it a 9.5 out of 10, which is unheard of.
And they don't sound like
they're like the hipster review site.
I think there's like 1 or 2 songs that maybe sound unfinished, but the rest of them, like Glamorous Life, sounds almost as good as it does on the Sheila E. record.
Wow.
I'm impressed by that. I'm going on Apple Music right now while we're talking to see if I could find the let's see what's on there. Prince.
Yeah, Prince Originals.
Just came out in June.
Oh, okay, so it's really recent.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it's been out for a while.
Yeah, we got Sex Shooter, Jungle Love, The Time, Manic Monday, Noon Rendezvous by Sheila E., Makeup, 100 Miles an Hour, You're My Love by Kenny Rogers, Holly Rock, Baby Your Trip. A lot of Sheila E. on here. Yeah, Nothing Compares to You.
Oh, I'd rather hear him sing it than that other bitch.
The Kenny Rogers song is crazy because I didn't know he wrote that for Kenny Rogers.
No, I didn't either.
So Purple Rain's winning comfortably. This is a tough one going on right now. The Down Under regional finals, Africa versus Beat It. And right now, with 103 votes, Beat It leads 56-44, which is a lot closer than I thought it was going to be.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. So by the way, the voting for the Prince for 1999 versus Sweet Child of Mine will be up already by the time you listen to it. The other one, the Paradise City Regional Finals. This one should be much more one-sided than it probably will be, but it depends on people's moods. Time After Time, Cyndi Lauper, and Billie Jean.
Ooh.
I'm sorry, there's no comparison for me. If you go back and listen to the podcast preview that myself, Andy Atherton, Mr. D'Amato, I believe Mr. Todd Weber was on when we kind of handicapped it. This was my horse. This was my Secretariat. And I have not jumped off it yet, and it will not. Billie Jean should win this by at least 15 points. At least. I mean, it should win at least 60, like 60-40 or 65-35. It shouldn't even be close. It really shouldn't. Just my opinion.
I mean, I guess if they're like, how much of a Michael Jackson pushback there'll be.
Not for that song.
Yeah.
It's his greatest song of all time.
I think that might be a little bit of the thriller.
Yeah.
I mean, with all due respect to Romy and or Michelle, Time After Time is not better than Beat It.
No, it's not. Billie Jean. Beat It, but yeah. I mean, it's conceivable that Beat It could face Billie Jean in the final. That's like Duke Carolina. That's like Blackhawks Red Wings. In their prime, not now. Sorry, Steve. So anyway, keep go on the Facebook page, the PTBN's Greatest Song of the 80s tournament. The votes will be there for the next couple weeks, and then the tournament ends. And then stay tuned for our fall tournament. What the topic will be will not be music, something different. Over on the wrestling feed, Wrestling Warzone is back, episode number 30, WCW Clash of the Champions 32. On the 5th episode of the Extreme Three-Way Dance, JT, Jenny, and John danced their way through 3 episodes of ECW Hardcore TV for March and April of 1994. Of course, guys, this main event will be up, but you can also listen to our last episode where we previewed Clash of Champions and did the most recent TNA Classic pay-per-view recap. Speaking of Clash of Champions, Chris Zellner and Devin Hales recapped Clash of Champions. Pete Winston and Steve Bennett wrap up their series breaking down their favorite all-time sports seasons on the Adams division. And finally, myself, Drew Wardlaw, Jenny, and Matt Souza dipped into the hidden gems on the network to review Nate Milton's favorite, Boogie Jam 84, on the newest episode of Jenny and the Gems, where we really laid into Ernie Ladd, but schooled on the greatness of Dick Slater and Greg Valentine in a steel cage. By the way, we saw today that looks like they'll be dropping something in the Gems. Well, by the time you listen to this, it'll already be in. A very, very rare sought-after AWA thing. Now, usually AWA and sought-after usually isn't in the same sentence, but I'm curious, guys. Kind of curious. Not going to lie. So we'll see. We shall see. Of course, every Wednesday...
Have they already dropped the Team Challenge series?
I think they did.
They dropped a pilot of it.
Yes.
Which was nothing like it. And Jordan and I, if you go back in the archives, did a live watch of it. Nate, you gotta go find it. It's incredible. It starts with not Greg Gagne. Yeah, what Papa Gagne? Vern Gagne and his dog sitting on a pier. Telling you what you're about to see.
Wow.
I want to see the Battle Royal because no one gets a moment like Jake the Milkman Milliman.
Oh, yeah. And it didn't even go into that. Like, this was just like a pilot for something they wanted to do. There was no crowd. It was done in a studio somewhere with no crowd. That's crazy. Yeah, I highly recommend it.
Interesting.
So, yeah, still on the network. And then Jordan and I did like a live watch along with it.
Yeah. So plenty of stuff on the wrestling feed, and we'll be dipping deep into the hidden gems. Every Wednesday on PlaceBeNation.com, we got the most interesting and unexpectedly funny stories on the World Wide Web in Glenn's Weekly Walk. For you college football fans, myself and Mr. Logan Crosland, we have our weekly campus hot takes, looking back at the previous week and looking ahead to the biggest matchups. The Irish lost a heartbreaker on Saturday, but will rebound against ranked Virginia this week. If you're doing online shopping over at Amazon.com, be sure to click on the Amazon banner on the right side of the Place to Be Nation homepage, or use PlaceToBeNation.com/Amazon. It takes you right to Amazon, helps us out, no cost to you other than what you're buying, and a little chunk comes back to the site to help us out. So thank you in advance. Check out our social media pages and message board, Bigelow34.proboards.com, for information on our GWWE TV and pay-per-view match ever project. Get in on the conversation today. Start researching your list. Come New Year's Eve is coming around the corner. We haven't really talked about our matches, guys, but we may have to do that in 2020. We have to spend some episodes talking about our favorite matches. I know we kind of eschewed the tag teams, but the Road Warriors are the greatest tag team. Oh, and Doom. Sorry, Nate. And Steve, the Ding Dongs for you?
Absolutely. And the Ding Dongs versus the Johnsons is the dream match.
Is the dream.
The only thing I regret about missing that, Scotty, is because I was going to make a stern case for Steve and Scott Simpson.
Yeah, world class.
Random Australian dudes who just showed up in Texas.
Yep. Even though I forgot, this is GWE
really
only.
long perms.
Yes, really
very
long perms.
Very long perms.
Like, whatever happened to the Simpson brothers? Those guys were like right up there with the Von Erichs for a little bit.
They were. I remember them extensively when I used to watch World Class on ESPN. Yeah, and then they kind of vanished.
Knowing World Class, though, it might not have ended well.
Yeah, they probably look like...
It's time to let you in a little secret.
Yes.
We are Stephen Scott Simpson, Nate.
Yeah!
My dreams have come true. I've met my heroes.
Feel my mane.
You didn't let it go, and now you both look like Demolition Axe. That's awesome. All right.
It's like the time I was on Live Audio Wrestling, and they introduced me as the Godfather. And some caller thought I was Charles Wright.
That was Roger on our show.
Roger did too on the Place to Be Nation, yeah.
Yes, yep. It's like, no, sorry, unfortunately I can't get you into Cheetahs.
Hey, I grew up near a Cheetahs. That's
Roger was probably already there.
Yeah, he was. That's true.
So I've been looking for you all night.
You're right. This ain't easy. So anyway, PlaceBeNation.com, your home for everything pop culture, and of course, check out both the wrestling and pop feeds. All
This
right.
episode feels like an Andrew Reich episode.
I know,
like where it just goes off the rails entirely.
This is like main event. Nate didn't experience one of those. This is like episode what, Steve? Like 12?
Yeah.
3.5 hours talking about LSU uniforms. I don't know. Oh man. All right, brother Nate, you sir have the shoe in our newest installment of the New Japan Classic Match Picks. My brother, you had picked. Certainly, speaking of gems, picked a gem tonight. Tell us what you got.
Yes, only one match tonight, but I figured if I was only going to pick one match, it was going to be a good match. I could not find any Simpson brother matches.
Then we're done.
In New Japan.
Well, it's a shorter flight than to Texas. So
yeah, it really is. But I decided to go with two people that formed one of my favorite rivalries in terms of professional wrestling. And matter of fact, if I'm going through the rankings in my head, they're probably my third favorite rivalry after Steamboat and Flair, probably, which is to me the epitome of a pro wrestling rivalry. Number two would probably be Rock and Austin.
I had a feeling you were going to say that. Yeah.
And then number three, and it varies. Like sometimes, like I lean Stone Cold and Vince. But I think I might have to give it to the Great Muta and that man called Sting, because I think these two guys just happen to get hot at the same time. And particularly if you're somebody that's listening that only knows of Sting from what Sting's been the last 25 years or so, you don't know how athletic this dude was before injuries caught up to him. And to see him and Muta in the late 80s kind of go at it like that, they hit me right at the right time when I was a young kid watching that. with the in-ring stuff, but also the character stuff. Muta coming out with the face paint and the mist, and Sting with the surfer look. It just worked for me as a viewer back then. So I was eager to see how many New Japan matches they had. And there's a handful of New Japan matches, including a pretty good tag match with Sting teaming with Muta against the Steiner brothers. But I wanted to go for something that had gold on the line, Scotty. I needed stakes. And so we're going to go all the way back to November 22nd, 1992, to Scotty's favorite arena. I'll let you pronounce it, Scotty.
Is it the Rigi Goku damn it. Rigi Goku Mishan, or whatever the heck. Rigi Dozan Doki Woki. I like the Prefecto Gym. Can't we just go to that one?
Yes, we're back in Sumo Hall for a match between Sting and the Great Muta Steve Willie, and this is for the IWGP Heavyweight title.
Indeed, and
tremendous.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We had talked earlier about the different matches that they had over the years, and Sting even referenced it in his. Did you have a version like the version you had? It had the little Sting promo at the beginning.
Yep.
And it was serious Sting.
Yes, it was serious Sting, and this was Sting in the period I like to affectionately call before he had to develop a personality.
Mm-hmm.
This is Sting when he's like the hot chick that doesn't have to be smart or funny because she's hot. And Sting didn't really have to be a good promo because he was so great in the ring and he had this look. He would learn to become a better promo in later years, though.
Yeah, he was, and no pun intended here at all, he was kind of muted. In this. It was just like, Muta, like, he's a different wrestler when he puts on the paint, and I don't quite understand that. He has the paint himself, and when he puts on the paint, he's just a different guy, and sometimes he'll even bend the rules a little bit, and I know that now, and I have to be prepared for it. And he's talked a little bit about I watched the match from March 21st, 1991 that they had at the Tokyo Dome that Muta won by spraying Sting in the face.
Yep.
With the mist as Sting was going for a Stinger Splash. So it was kind of a cool callback to a match almost 2 years prior that like, hey, I'm ready for this now. I know that he might cheat and pull out a fast one. And just
it was very much like this
I
was going to say, this was very much like not the NWA style of promo. This was very much, kind of that Japanese style where we're treating this as a legitimate sport. And
Absolutely.
Sting felt like, some guy getting like the pre-match interview. Like, yeah, he's somebody I got to look out for and I got to watch this. Like, he sounded like Peyton Manning on any Peyton Manning pregame interview you've ever heard Peyton Manning.
What do you think of Sting's paint on this one? Like his face paint. It didn't seem like his typical two-color.
No.
Like red and white or, pink and purple. Like it almost looked a little fiendish. Yowie wowie Sting.
He should have his own fun house.
This is long-term booking. They've been working this feud since 92. We'll find out the first SmackDown on Fox.
Exactly. Now, of course, I had my head up my ass when we were looking at our chat today, so I was watching matches all over the place. We actually had talked about three of them, or you did. Somebody posted two other examples. I think it was you, Nate. Posted two other examples, not realizing that neither of those was the one you were mentioning. So I ended up watching three Muta Sting matches, but we'll get to the other two in a minute. Muta won now, what was the date of this one again, Steve? Nate?
This is November 22nd of 92.
Okay. Now, Muta won the title in August at the G1 Climax. He beat Riki Choshu, who had won it from Fujinami in January at the Super Warriors in Tokyo Dome, which was, of course, I'm assuming the precursor to Wrestle Kingdom. So Muta beat arguably one of the greatest of all time in his third reign as champion. Of course, the belt at the time was only 5 years old. So Muta, and this reign Muta has is pretty epic. We won't say who wins the match yet, but it's a pretty good reign.
This is like the start of Muta becoming Muta in New Japan.
I agree, 100%. Now, we'll go chronologically. The first match that you had mentioned, Nate, and I watched it before I watched this one, was the one in early 91 at the New Japan WCW Super Show. I liked that match. It lost its way once or twice, but it wasn't awful. And then I'll mention the third match when we finish talking about this, but I think I liked having stakes here. And obviously, you're not sure if Sting's winning this match or not, because technically Sting, of course, is in WCW. So, who knows? You know? This match was fun, though. Hard-hitting. Very stiff. What I asked you guys earlier, I'll ask you again. Nate, did you see a change? Now, you've watched the New Japan WCW Super Show match before.
Yeah.
Did you feel like Muta's style was changing a little bit? Maybe less high-flying and more grinding?
This is almost like a hybrid, and Steve can attest to this, between when Muta is the great Muta and when he's Keiji Muto.
Yeah.
This is like a blend of those type of styles.
Right.
And I think that, and I'm trying to figure out was where Sting was at this time period in terms of the patella injury. Is this pre-patella or post-patella?
That I don't know, because that was even something in the beginning of the match. Because it could be post-patella, because Sting was not wrestling his normal style for the first few minutes of the match. There was a lot of mat work and hammerlocks, and
I want to say this is post-patella because Sting's still athletic, but the spring isn't quite there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not where it was, obviously, 2 or 3 years ago, and certainly not back in '89 when him and Muta were doing big things. But it felt like these are two guys that know each other well, and we're not playing around here, particularly, like Scott said, when you've got a world title on the line.
Yeah, and I definitely think that I like the hybrid thing between KG Muta and Muta. But I definitely think Sting was off a gear. But it didn't take away from him, though. He just wrestled differently. Watching Sting, I can't believe I'm about to say this, and maybe we've said this in the past. Sometimes watching Sting is like watching Cena. Kind of does also like watching Edge. Two guys who can kind of adapt to whoever their opponent is. I mean, Sting wrestles very basic. I've never said Sting was like a work rate marvel, but he was never a terrible wrestler. Sting knew how to adapt to whoever he was facing. And Muta, again, not as high-flying as he was 89 or 91, but definitely was in a hybrid mode where Sting was able to adapt quicker. And he definitely, I think, might have had a wheel a little off.
Yeah, it was February of '90.
Yeah, that's what I was just finding, too.
Sting jacked up his knee.
That's right. Oh, yeah, it was when he left. That's right, because that's when he got kicked out of the Horseman and thrown into the cage.
Yep.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's right. Yep. Okay, that's the injury. I'm sorry. I thought it was another injury that I was thinking of. I remember the patella injury, but I thought
this is definitely Sting where he's trying to figure out his style a bit now that he can't be quite as explosive.
Right. I enjoyed the match a lot, though. It was probably about 14 minutes if you take out the promos at the beginning and end of the clip.
Yeah, all three of the matches that I watched, it was like the 89 Power Hour, the 91 one at the Tokyo Dome, and this one from 92. They were all like that 12, 13, 14, 15 minute range, which was nice because I love Sting too, but he's not built for a 25, 30 minute slog of a match. His style is too explosive, and I love the outside stuff. Like, Muta was really a heel in this match.
Yes, he was.
He was throwing young boys at Sting. It wasn't just, quick in the ring, misty and, doing quick elbows and handsprings and stuff like that. He was throwing dudes around, which is, kind of what you're insinuating, where he was part Muto, part Great Muta.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, obviously it's not as synchronized as him and Ric Flair just because of the amount of times he's faced Ric Flair over the years.
Right.
Where they can do a Sting like even today, like they could probably still do some semblance of a Sting Ric Flair match because those moves are so ingrained.
Mm-hmm.
This match felt like you got two guys that know each other, but it's also, this is not, NWA. This is not WCW. This is not Crockett. This is Sting coming over to Muda's turf and kind of adapting to the flow of things over in Japan. And I really liked seeing Sting in this environment because, like you said, Scotty, no one's ever going to accuse Sting of being, Ric Flair, or nobody's ever going to accuse Sting of being Ricky Steamboat. But I think that John Cena comparison is apt because he's a guy that has this good look. He's a hard worker. And when he's in there with somebody that can push him to that next level, I think more times than not, he can rise to it.
Yep. I agree 100%. I agree 100%. I've always said that about Sting. And Sting's made money. Muda retains the title. Talk about the finish, Nate.
It kind of came out of nowhere for me, Steve. I don't know if you felt this way.
Yes.
You did. Yeah, no, I agree.
Moonsault out of nowhere wins it. That was my exact.
Yeah, like I was expecting, because it felt like, and again, maybe this goes to what Scotty was saying about maybe Sting not feeling like he was getting to that next gear. I felt like the match, while good, like it was a really solid match, I think it was missing one gear for me in terms of making it like a classic. And so, yeah, when the moonsault came for the finish, it just felt like I don't even think Sting really sold it. Like it just felt like, okay, this is what's supposed to happen, so this is what we're gonna do. But it felt like I was missing just a little piece of something, and I don't know if that's like New Japan booking that kept it from getting to that next gear. I don't know if it's Sting not being what he was 3 years prior that kept it from getting to the next level, or I don't know if it's Muda, playing more of this character that kept it from getting to this next level. But for whatever reason, like it wasn't a bad match, and then the finish didn't kill the match for me, Steve. But it just it wasn't what I think it could have been. Which, like, it was good, but I think it could have gotten to that really good, maybe even great level.
Yeah, because it was in the middle of Sting making a comeback.
Yep.
And, hit a splash, and then, I think he missed a dive of some sort, and then Muda, gave one of those kind of weak backbreakers that, like, he'll do often. Sonata does that nowadays. Like, he just kind of weakly drops him into position to do the Muda moonsault. It just kind of, like, dropped him into position, hit the moonsault, and I was like, whoa.
So he didn't even really milk the crowd for the moonsault.
No.
It was like a leader moonsault. He's just like...
That's a good comparison. Now,
yeah, if it was New Japan nowadays, he would have had to hit 3 of those to win.
Yeah, no.
He would have had to do the Daniels, the best moonsault ever.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there was a third match that we were talking about in the chat, and I watched that one too. Boy, I really binged. It was an episode of Power Hour. Now I'm blanking because I don't know if it was in British or English. It was either March 9th or September 3rd. I think it was March 9th, 1993.
No, September 3rd, 1989.
September 3rd.
British. Yeah.
Okay, so September 3rd, 1993.
1982.
It was 1989.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
Yeah.
I gotta talk.
This was in the heyday. This was in the peak of their athleticism.
Fucking damn it. Anyway, that match was awesome. You could tell that was when they were before any injuries and stuff. They were hitting the shit out of each other. It was stiff. It was fluid. I liked it a lot.
It was totally American, like American NWA, and I mean that as a compliment. Like Gary Hart was out there with Muda, and I love Gary Hart.
The JTEX Corporation.
Yeah, Funk comes out of nowhere to distract Sting, and you think that's gonna do it. Muda gets control, and Sting comes back. They use brass knucks. That doesn't work. So Gary Hart's just like, I'm just gonna get myself disqualified and let's get out of here. There's no way we could possibly beat Sting.
And that leads to doesn't that lead to the Halloween Havoc match? Is that where we get the tag with Flair and Sting?
Yeah,
versus Funk and Muda.
There was a clash match first.
Yeah.
And then, because it was all vacant, it was like a vacant television title match. Trying to look up Sting and Muta here.
Yeah, because we get that great moment in the cage where Muta puts out the fire with his mist.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Which is
kind of cool, actually.
Like, I know he's a heel, but he probably just saved somebody's job, if not life.
That's funny.
But yeah, like this time period is, again, and like they would have a bunch of matches, in '89 that just like staying at the peak of his athleticism, and Muta, when Muta was like, I mean, he still is a rare thing to see in America, as Scotty can attest to, seeing him during WrestleMania week. Yep. But this is like when not only was he rare, but it was still like super fresh that this guy was in the NWA, and him and Sting were just made for each other in terms of what they could do in the ring. Like they both weren't afraid to get stiff, like Steve said, and like the athletic leaping in ability between both guys. Like those '89 matches were something to see.
I agree, 100%. Yeah. Any final thoughts, Steve?
No, I just I know Muta, especially for some more hardcore fans. Like for one, it gets a lot of it got a lot of us into Japan, like him and Liger for sure.
Yep.
Into Japanese wrestling, like people are like, he wasn't that good, and these matches are just fun. Like even the match, the '92 match, like Sting and Muta essentially matching. Like they had very similar paint and very similar pants. It was like just such a cool visual seeing the two of them in the ring. And that Power Hour match, I forget how great of a banger Sting's theme song was in WCW.
Yes, it was.
Dun, dun, dun. So good.
Dun, dun.
It was like somebody took the Ultimate Warriors theme and gave it like a sedative.
Yep.
And chilled it out a little bit. Gave it a joint or something.
It's not as good as Doom's Sexy Sax, though. Never. All right. So, Nate, excellent choice, man. Excellent choice. Guess what, Steve?
My turn.
You have the shoe. So, our 2 episodes from now, episode 136, Steve will have his next New Japan Classic match picks. Guys, what a fantastic show. As always, when the 3 of us are together. We'll be back in 2 weeks for episode 135. We'll discuss the AEW NXT War, as it'll be a couple weeks old. We will recap Hell in a Cell, which would have taken place the previous Sunday. I think it's in Boston. Yeah, Boston. And see how that show panned out. If speaking of a fiend who has the gold, amongst many other things. So, and plenty of news and notes. Will Ring of Honor be owned by somebody else? And we're going to keep giving you matches to watch. I love that segment. I love that piece we did tonight, and I think the fans are going to really like it. So Nate, Steve, and I will give you matches to watch that have been on some sort of TV over the last over the couple weeks that we were not together. Whether it's Impact, Nate, great pick for Impact, WWE, New Japan, whatever's on TV, AEW. Now we can add that to the mix and see what we can give you. So big show coming up in 2 weeks. For Brother Nate, Brother Steve, I'm Brother Scott. You've been in the main event. The war has begun, but the Beltway will be jammed with traffic. Thanks, Dave Martinez and the stupid Nationals. See you in 2 weeks.
Hey, Steve Willie.
Hey, Nate Milton.
I got some more Steve Borden news for you.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, like we know he's going to be on that first SmackDown on Fox. But did you also know that he's working with Fox to produce his own reality show?
No, I'm interested in hearing about it.
It's going to be a singing competition where he dresses up each week in a different costume, and people have to guess the song he's singing, and it's going to be called The Masked Singer.